Welcome to our next lesson for Unit 1. Before we go on to Lesson 2, we're going to do a recap of Lesson 1, Algebraic and Verbal Expressions. So as you can see, we have an algebraic expression, 2n squared plus 5n. And we have all these vocabulary words that we learned in the lesson. So we're going to identify what each of them are. So I'm going to take a pen and I'll use purple. Okay, so algebraic expression. So as we can see, this is an algebraic expression. An algebraic expression is a combination of terms, like variables, numbers, powers, combined by using an operation, whether it's addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. So I'm going to write 2n squared plus 5n, which is the algebraic expression. Variable. What are variables? Variables are the unknowns. They're identified by using letters. So n is our variable. Factors. Remember about factors? Factors could be two or more, whether a number or variable combined together to give you a product. So we have, example, 5 and n is a factor. We could also have 2 and n squared as a factor. And I'll put or 2 and n squared. Those are factors combined to give you a product. A term. A term is a combination of variables and numbers put together. So we have put together with a put together which is linked by either plus sign, minus, subtraction. So in this case we have how many terms? We've got 2 terms. So I'm going to write 2 terms. And the terms, the first one is 2n squared and 5n. Those are terms. Exponent. So exponent is the superscript number that tells you how many times you're going to multiply the number or the variable. So the exponent, I'm just going to write 2n squared and then circle the 2. That's the exponent. The base, in this case, would be n. That is the number or variable that's going to be multiplied, how many times the exponent tells you to do it. And the power is basically the variable or the number raised by whatever exponent it is. In this case, n squared. So this whole thing, the base and exponent together, combined, gives you the power. We also worked on verbal phrases, so translating words into operations. So for addition, you have words like added by, sum, increase, more than. Those are a few examples. For subtract, we had diminished, diminished by, decreased by. We also had less than. That's when you're going to switch the 2 terms. Less than. And I know there's others. I can't even think on the top of my head. But those are the ones that you usually see. And of course, you can use subtracted by, other stuff like that. Multiply, we have times or twice. That tells you to multiply because you're multiplying by 2 times. And product, that's one that comes up. Of course, of tells you to multiply. Division, you got per, you You got divided by quotient. That's one that comes up. Right, so those are a few. There's plenty of them, but these are the ones that usually comes up the most. So now we have what we started with, the algebraic expression, and we're going to turn it into a verbal phrase. So we got the first one. We got 2 and 2n squared. So we could say the product of 2 and a number squared added by the product of 5 and a number. That's one way of writing it. If there's other ways that you write, there's other ways that you can write it, as long as it's accurate and it matches up to what the algebraic expression was. Okay, so let's begin. But before we go on to our lesson, we have something that we can solve. Do not use your calculator. So solve the following below without a calculator. See what you get. So providing that you didn't use a calculator, how many of you got 20? How many of you got 320? So the correct answer would be, and I'm going to check it, would be 20. If you did use your calculator would give you 20 as the answer. So why 20? If we look at this, we notice there's a combination of pluses and multiplying and minus. But when it comes to calculating numbers with different operation, there's an order. And that order we have to follow. So with this, if I were to put parentheses around all the ones that are being multiplied and worked with those first, so this one gives me 16, and let's bring down the plus, this is 16, the plus 4 minus, and then this is 16. And I just continue, so this is 32. And then I have negative, I put those together, a negative 12, and then get 20. So that's where I got the answer. Basically, there was an order that I used in order to get to the correct answer. If you were to do this number first, multiply this, and add whatever you got added to 4, and then multiply, then you would end up with this answer, but it's not correct. So this leads us to our lesson, which is order of operation. And the objective is, how do we use order of operations to evaluate numerical and algebraic expressions? Most of you may have recalled the mnemonic phrase PEMDAS. And PEMDAS, if you remember, means parentheses, expression, sorry, it should be exponent. Let me change that. That shouldn't be expression. That must have been a typo. So exponent. Okay. And the next one is multiplying, dividing, and adding and subtracting. PEMDAS. So if you remember that, then this will help you to solve that problem that we did in the last slide in order to get to our correct answer. So the question is, why are multiplication and division and addition and subtraction grouped together? The reason is they're opposite of each other. And the next question is, how do we know which operation to complete first? Oh, let me get that out of the way and select, calculate it, or go left to right. Just like when you read in a book, you read left to right, you calculate left to right. All right, so we're going to evaluate expression, and we're using PEMDAS. I'm going to be showing where I would put parentheses, so that way I know what to work with first and then get my answer. So I see there's a multiplication, so I'm going to put my parentheses here. And going with PEMDAS, I know parentheses, anything in parentheses will go first. So I'm going to bring this down, get 6. And now it's all addition. I can go left to right. So then this will give me 9, and then I'll get 14. I don't know why my pen is getting a little wonky. Same thing with this. Okay, so I've noticed that I have this, and then put this. Actually, oops. Let me undo this. All right, so I'm going to do this first. This be 16. This gives me 5, and then times 5, bring down this. So all right, so now you notice that I did the division first. I know with PEMDAS this is M, and then division M and D, but when you're working, when you have either you have plus and minus together, or you have division and multiplication together, whoever comes first is who you deal with first. So in this case, I did division first. So I'm going from left to right. So I did the division first, and then I did the multiplication. I also had to get rid of this power so that I can simplify it. And the last thing I would do is subtract. So once I divide it, then I multiply, so I get my 25, subtract 16, and then I get my answer of 9. So if I were to do this on the calculator, I'm going to actually just type in what I see on the screen and see what the calculator gives me. It gave me 9. So basically the calculator followed the order of operation. So like I said, if you see division and then multiplication, you might try to go for multiplication first, whatever comes first. So we have a combined group, not combined. If division and multiplication symbols are back to back, go left to right. Same thing with addition and subtraction. All right, so they already put the parentheses, so work with the group in part, the parentheses. So this is 7, 3, and then this one I can simplify. I still have to simplify this. Gives me 21, and then I'll get 31. All right, so we got a parentheses within a parentheses. So now, PEMDAS, we're going to work with what's inside. So I'm going to work with this because I need to do this first, parentheses, and then I need to do the exponent. So I'm just going to bring down what's already there. This will give me 5 square. I have to get rid of this. So to bring it down, and then I can still work with what's inside. It gives me 30. And then my answer will be 60. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So a fraction bar is another type of group and symbol. What does the fraction bar group together? So basically, it groups the numerator and denominator. That's what it's grouping together. Denominator. Denominator. Oops. Spelled it wrong. Let's go back. Go back a pen. Okay, denominator. So that's what it's grouping. So when you have a fraction bar, it's grouping the numerator and the denominator. So now we're still using PEMDAS. So this one, we deal with the exponent first. So that gives us 16, and then we go at bottom, we got 9 times 4. So this one will give us 22, and then the bottom will be 36. And if you want to reduce this, you could. So it'd be 11, and then 2, you get 18. All right, let me just box that up. All right, so then, yeah, we don't need to reduce it. All right, so again, when you have that fraction bar, basically it's separating the numerator and denominator. You're going to group the numerator together, the expression in the numerator together, and the expression of the denominator together. Okay, so this portion is a calculator mini lesson, especially when you are trying to solve these expressions to get an answer. Parentheses. You have to think about parentheses and where to put them. So it must be used around all negative numbers. So if you have a -5, you need to put a parentheses and have that -5 inside the parentheses. Or else the calculator will treat it as if though whatever number is next to it, it will multiply it to that number and then add on the negative afterwards. But we don't want that because it's going to give you a total different number. Parentheses can be used for multiplication. So you can put, if you did 3 times 5, you could put parentheses 3 in the parentheses times 5 in the parentheses to give you your product. And it can be used to group multiple operations. So when it comes to fractions, you use a division sign to write a fraction. So you saw that division symbol in your calculator. And if you have a decimal and you want to convert it to a fraction, this is what you would do. So I'm going to use 0.25. I'm going to type it on my calculator. I'm going to go to math, which is under the green button alpha. And the first one says frac. That's fraction. You press enter. And then you're going to press enter again. And what do you see? A quarter. So that's turning a decimal into a fraction. If you wanted to do it the other way around, that fraction that you have on your screen, leave it there, go to math, which is under the alpha green button, then go down, scroll down to number 2, which it says des for decimal, December, decimal. And then you press enter again. And what do you see? 0.25. So this is a trick for any time you use a calculator and you have like a decimal and you want to see what the fraction is, you use that feature. And to simplify a fraction, let's say you had 25, you type in 25 divided by 100. You type that in, you go to math, and see if you can reduce this fraction. You press frac, that's fraction, press enter again, and you will get the reduced fraction for 25 over 100, which is 1 over 4. So this is the simple tricks that you can use when it comes to doing turning fractions to decimals or decimals into fractions or simplifying fractions. Now we're going to use the calculator to try to solve this problem. So you got to pay attention on how to do this. But I'm going to write it first on how you would do this. So I'm going to put the word calculator. Oops, what am I spelling crazy over here? Erase. Cal. calculator. So this is what you're going to do in the calculator. So we have this top. Notice the fraction bar, so that means we're going to group the numerator and group the denominator. So when I'm going to write it, and this is how you're going to enter it on your calculator. You're going to have a parentheses, another parentheses, you're going to have that minus sign, not the one that is with the plus multiplication and division. There's another one that's at the bottom of 3. That's what you're going to use for negative. You have your 2, and then you have that little hat that's above the division symbol. Or you can use the one that has on the opposite side, which says x squared. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put the hat and the 2, and then this one we closed up, plus 4, and then the parentheses, and then another parentheses to close up that group. Then you're going to have the division symbol, parentheses, and you're going to have 3, parentheses 3, close parentheses, plus 2, parentheses negative 2, that negative that's below the 3, and then another parentheses to close it up. So that's how you're going to type it on in the calculator. And then just make sure everything is all in its spot. Alright, so I'm going to do this on the calculator. Type in everything that I wrote on the screen and see what I get as an answer. Oops, 3 times 2 times negative 2. You should have an answer of 2.56. If you did not get it, then that means either you missed a parentheses, or with your symbol, your negative symbol, you used a minus sign instead of that negative underneath the 3. So you got to be careful with that. Alright, so the next one is basically you just plugging in numbers into this, but we're going to skip on that because there's going to be a problem dealing with that. Let's continue working with simplifying the expression. Alright, so I'm going to start grouping what needs to be grouped. So anytime you see division or multiplication, you just group that. And now we start working with the parentheses. So this one is 7 minus 2. This one will give me 2 squared, and then this is 15. So this one will be 4, 15, and 8. So then I go left to right. So then we got negative 1, and then we have 14 as our answer. Okay, then this one, remember, you see division and multiplication? Work left to right with this. So this one is its own group. This I'm going to do first. So then this will give me 2, and then multiply the 9. This will give me 9. 18 minus 9 equals 9. Next one, again, we're just following PEMDAS. I don't know why I put in parentheses, but whatever. Okay, so the next one, grouping. So these stuff you can also do in the calculator, but it's how you place your parentheses. If you do not do it correctly, you're not going to get the right answer. In this case, I'm just doing it mentally. So this one, okay, got that. So this one, I want to see if I'm going to get a reduced fraction for this. So math, frac. Yeah. Oh, it's 26. I mean, I could just easily divide it and I would get 26. All right, the next one. So I'm going to do the exponents first. So 25 times 4. I'm going to group that because it's multiplying before subtracting. And then this will give me 16. And that's 20. All right, so this would be 100. And then 16 times 5, give me 80. And then I get the 20. And then 20 over 20. And then that gives me 1. All right. So now the next one says, what is the error? And correct it. So we have this. Let's see if this from here to there is correct. The 3 is out there. The 4 was not touched. Plus still they stay the same. Now it's this. Let's see. They divided correctly, but notice what happened. This was outside. How did this get inside? That means that's not correct because this is telling you that you're squaring whatever is inside this whole bracket, the parentheses. So this is a mistake right there. So it's supposed to be 3 times 4 plus 9, and that whole thing inside would be squared. Then you continue with this, and this would be 169, and then your answer, 169 times 3 gives you 507. That would be the correct answer. So be careful. Be careful. If there's a bracket, parentheses, and there's a square outside or whatever power, whatever exponent, it's gonna raise the power of whatever's inside the whole thing inside. Be careful with that. Okay, so now the next thing. You're gonna have problems where you need to plug in, substitute numbers for the variables, and then simplify the expression by using PEMDAS. So we got 7 squared, and then got this, and then 4 times 5. All right, so now we can start simplifying it. And 49 minus, since this one's going to be a negative number, it'll be 21. Actually, not 21, 11. I'm going super fast over here. All right. 11. And then we have to do the distributive property, or a negative times a negative gives you a positive. So I'll put it underneath here. So then that we will have 60 for that one. All right. Circle that. Okay, so basically same thing. You know, you have numbers. You just substitute, and then you just follow the order of operations to get your answer. Same thing with this one. So we have K, and then we got 12 minus 4, and then the J, and then you continue. Same thing with this one. Basically, it's just substituting and following PEMDAS. And J. Okay, so I'm doing this first. I've noticed that some students, they would multiply the 4, and let's say you got the 4 and the 6, multiply that and then square it. Whatever exponent is whichever number that is attached to that exponent, you have to work with it first. Then multiply it or do whatever afterwards to it. So then this would be 4 times 36, and then minus 8, and then you continue to simplify. So 36 times 4 gives you 144. And then since it's only plus and minuses, you just work left to right. So you got 24 plus 144, which gives you 168, minus 8, then you get 160. And then the last one, we got 2 times 4. And I'm going to put this in parentheses because it's in parentheses. And G is 4. And then G again. H minus J. Alright, continue to simplify and follow the rules of PEMDAS. So 24 minus 8. So we got 16. And then we continue 16, so it'll just be 1. Alright. So that was PEMDAS and order of operation. So going back, as a recap, we learned about PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponent, multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting. And when it comes to calculating, like which operation, especially if you have multiplication, division together, or addition and subtraction, if you have the first one, multiplying and dividing, whoever comes first is the one that you deal with. And with the grouping with addition and subtraction, whoever comes first, you deal with that first. But you still follow the rules of PEMDAS. And we also did a little mini calculator session on how to enter your numbers, multiple operations, numbers of multiple operations. So it's all about the parentheses. So if you have something like this, you group in the numerator and the denominator. If you have a negative number, you have to put it in parentheses, and it can also be used as multiplication. All right. So if there's any time during this video that you were like, oh my God, how did I get that? You can always go back, slow it down, check it, and you can always email me and ask me for more examples or questions. All right, so this ends our lesson, and see you next time.